The Terracotta Army, over 7,000 clay soldiers created for the sole purpose of guarding the first emperor of China into the afterlife. But why? Why would the emperor create such a mass tomb? What is the significance of the emperor's display of power? And what is the importance of such an artifact today? It was located 1.5 kilometers east of Emperor Qin Shi Huangdi's mausoleum in Lintong, Jian, Shaanxi province, still there today.
When Chinese workers went to dig a well outside the city of Xi'an, China in 1974, they struck something much more valuable than water, or even gold. They dug up one of the greatest archaeological discoveries in the world. The detailed head, sculpted entirely of clay. The diggers notified the Chinese authorities, who dispatched government archaeologists to investigate. When they arrived and investigated more thoroughly, they dug up thousands upon thousands of clay soldiers. Remarkably, each had unique facial structure and hairstyle. So much so that no two soldiers were ever the same. The Terracotta Army had been unearthed.
Now, the first emperor of China, he wasn't always Qin Shi Huangdi. He was initially named Yin Zhang, and he was born in 260 BC during China's Warring States period. This was a very bad time to be born, as all the territories of the Chinese country were in full war mode, fighting for control of the country. Qin Shi Huangdi was the first emperor to conquer all of China and unify it under one banner. He named himself Qin Shi Huangdi after ascending the throne, this name literally meaning first emperor of Qin. He is also accredited with connecting the already existing segments of the Great Wall into one definitive barrier, and also establishing a uniform system of currency and weights. But the most primary trait that Qin exhibited was his obsession with immortality. He saw himself not only as the emperor of China, but also the sole leader of the cosmos.
The perception of the Chinese afterlife was much different than that of the Western perception. The Chinese word for the afterlife, bu si, literally means non-death. For the Chinese, the afterlife was set in near parallel to the corporeal world. Qin Shi Huangdi sought immortality, so he sent his multitudes of emissaries to the islands of the Eastern Sea, in search of islands foretold in myth where mystic herbs grow, ones that will grant man eternal life. However, their mission was unsuccessful, so the emperor focused instead on extending his kingdom into the afterlife.
But why so many soldiers? For one, it had to be realistic. In that time period in China, no army could be considered a real army unless it was a yuan. A yuan was a general term for large amount that most closely translated to 10,000. Counting all the pits, archaeologists have estimated that there are around 8,000, which is near enough to 10,000.
After securing his place at the throne, Emperor Qin Shi Huangdi ordered 120,000 families to move to the new capital, Shenyang, and summoned 700,000 men to begin construction on his tomb. The clay used in the building of the Terracotta Army was taken from the nearby Mount Li and prepared centrally before being distributed to individual workshops in an assembly line-like process. These workshops all use the same basic technique to form the sculptures, but in the various details, like the head and hands, each workshop had its own unique method. The sculptures were mostly made from foot to head, where the feet and base were constructed solidly in order to support the weight of the rest of the structure.
Not a single terracotta soldier was found in complete condition.
The collapsing roof and the other elements led to breaking down nearly all the soldiers. Many of the images seen today are either recreations using broken pieces or replicas. And the recreations and the replicas alike, they have one thing in common, and that's the color that they're made in. Each of them is the same color as the clay, the terracotta. The respective paint found. That means all these terracotta soldiers were originally made in full color. And the paint was actually a specific Chinese purple. This Chinese purple was used between 1200 BC and 220 AD. It was composed of copper silicate, and its color comes from the red impurity of the copper oxide. Now this recipe had since been lost, but with modern day alchemists armed with things like high resolution transmission, electron microscopy, X-ray microanalysis, and electron energy loss spectroscopy, scientific stuff, they were able to reconstruct the pigment. It is estimated that all three pits of the underground mausoleum contain together around 7,000 soldiers, 130 chariots with 520 chariot horses and 110 cavalry horses. The army took 36 years to build. From the time when Qin Shi Huangdi ascended the throne in 246 BC, all the way to his death in 210 BC. Pit 3, remarkably, was a command center containing 68 figures. There are guards standing by and officers waiting for either their commander's orders or to be of service in any way.
Someone will break us of the habit of war by taking away our weapons, and we will march against the darkness. Or will it be light, naked as newborn babes, our tiny fists opening and closing on nothing? The only certainty, even under the earth, is change, whether it be cosmetic, paint flaking away down the muted centuries, or something more violent that destroys the form itself, icons of public and private selves. With such thoughts I addressed the potter on more than one occasion, thinking to shock him. I'd given up the Tao, and had even less time for the ethics of Confucius in the new dispensation. Rituals and ancestor worship are as useless to soldiers as scapulomancy and tortoiseshell prophecy. Only our vanity is monumental, the potter said, and that too can be broken.